Do you believe that you are in the vibrational vicinity of your own desire? That's the most important thing, isn't it? Because when you are in the vibrational vicinity, then that means there's no contradictory energy, because the vibration of your desire and the vibration of your belief are in the same place, and so nothing is slowing it down. So then you are experiencing a steady, comfortable, even exciting, certainly satisfying unfolding. And that really is what life is. Life causes you to identify your desires, and then by virtue of the vibration of that desire, you begin attracting the components to you. So the more you think about it, potentially, the more momentum your desire gathers, until the vibrations turn to thoughts, and the thoughts turn to things, and off you go. But if you are offering contradictory thoughts, such as, I want that, but I don't believe it, or I want that, but it hasn't happened yet, then you don't allow momentum to gather. And that's when you begin getting frustrated. That's why we say, do you think you know what you want? And do you believe that your belief is in the vicinity of your desire? Because when it is, then life is sweet. But if you don't believe what you want, then life isn't as much fun, is it? And so that's what we like to chew with you about. Do you know that you create your own reality? Do you know that you are offering a vibration all the time, and that the law of attraction is responding to it, so that you are gathering the cooperative components? But there's a better way of explaining it, and we're just going to do it briefly, and then we're going to get right into the specifics of what you want to talk about. When your life causes you to ask for something, it doesn't even have to be something that you can articulate. It just has to be something that you know you want. When life causes you to know what you don't want, in that same moment, life causes you to know what you do want. Another way around too. So when you know what you want, you emanate a vibration, and that vibration begins the attraction process. But there's a part of this that we think is really worthwhile emphasizing with you, and that is, you launch your rocket, and the non-physical part of you, who remains non-physically focused, it's the soul or source of you, your inner being is what we call that part of you, follows that rocket, focuses on it with no detraction or deviation from it, and holds the vibrational frequency of it. So the attraction toward your desire really is primarily happening because you gave it birth, because life helped you to do that, and then your inner being held steady on the subject of your desire. So all unseen and seen cooperative components are drawn to that desire that you gave birth to, that your inner being is tending to. All of the cooperative components are coming to it. It's just what the nature of this universe is. It's what law of attraction does. But the question that we really want to put to you, we want you to think about this all day, every day. Are you, in your physical human form, one of the cooperative components to your own desire? And the answer to that is usually no. The answer to that is usually, especially in the beginning, no, because I want it, because I don't want this, and what I don't want is more active in my vibration. So when you give birth to most desires, you're not a vibrational match to your desire, but your inner being is. That's the promise your inner being made with you when the part of you came into this physical body, and the part that is your inner being remained in non-physical form. You said to each other, you said, I'll go stir it up and I'll come up with new ideas. And your inner being says, and I'll hold steady to every new desire that you give birth to until you find a way of being a vibrational match to it. And you said, that won't be any problem whatsoever, because it will feel good when I think about what I want, and it will feel bad when I think in opposition. And so we all shook hands, and off you went, and you have not been keeping your promise very well. Oh, you're keeping a lot of it, you're stirring it up, and you're living the contrast, and you're giving birth to lots of desires. And those desires are active and alive and real. In fact, they're so real that we call them, they're in a vibrational reality. And that vibrational reality is so real, we've given it the name the vortex. It's this vibrational reality where all of your desires, including your inner being, are, and where law of attraction is gathering all of the cooperative components. So what a good basis and beginning. What a big thing your creations are, whether you come along for the ride or not. And when you're coming along for the ride, or even turned in the direction of your desires, you feel wonderful. And when you're not so good. And that really is how creation is. We are eager to talk with you about whatever matters to you. And it is our desire today that you can come to a clearer understanding of how this all works, so that you can work with the laws of the universe, so that you can work in concert with your inner being who holds your desires so dearly and so steadily. Most of all, because life is supposed to feel good to you. You're supposed to be having a really good time. And when you are moving in the direction of your own creation, that's where satisfaction comes from. In fact, that's the only place that satisfaction comes from. It's from life causing you to carve out something new, and then you moving toward it. And when you don't move toward it, you don't feel so good. And if somebody else has carved it out for you, you don't feel so good either. You know that. When your mother says, here's your list of what I want you to do today, you say, you have to find me to make me do it. When your employer says, this is what is required of you, it doesn't sometimes ring your bells as much as when you wake up in the day knowing what you have planned, fishing, hiking, doing something that was inspired to you. And so there are so many wonderful things that are inspired to you day by day by day by day. And you have created a vibrational reality, your vortex of attraction, that it would keep you busy for 20 or 30 lifetimes if all of it manifested in a steady linear stream. But you didn't come just to manifest things. You came as the creator of the experience of your own life. And the things are a wonderful part of the creative experience of your own life. We're not trying to talk you out of things, and we're not trying to talk you out of action. In fact, you are an extension of source energy who came into this leading edge time-space reality, because this is where the leading edge is turning to things. And so nothing short of you manifesting everything that you're desiring is what you had planned. You intended that. We just want to help you realize that sometimes you get off track from what you are in the process of creating. You know what the primary reason is that you get off track from what you are creating? You're paying too much attention to what you have created. You keep wanting to look at what is. You keep wanting to take score of the manifestations that are already manifested. And when you look at what is, you're looking at old news. It's like gum you've chewed all the flavor out of. And every moment of your life is causing you to launch new rockets of desire. So you got to keep up with that expansion. And if that gap gets too wide, where you're launching ideas and you feel a brief enthusiasm for them, but you don't then keep flowing in the direction of them, then that gap gets wider and wider as you introduce unnecessary tension into your experience in the form of thoughts or beliefs that are contrary to your own desires. You pick up beliefs all over the place. Sometimes you learn them from others if they're steady about hammering them to you. You pick them up from your own life experience. And most of your beliefs are because you've been observing your own life experience. A belief is only a thought that you continue to think. So let's say something happened in your experience a while back, let's say 20 years ago, and you didn't like it in this example. Well, if something happened 20 years ago and you didn't like it, and you haven't thought about it since, then it's no longer a player. It's not a factor in your vibrational offering. So it's not hindering you in any way. But if it happened 20 years ago, and you talked about it then, and then you talked about it 19 years ago, and 18 years ago, and 17, 16, 15, and you talked about it yesterday, in fact. Oh yeah, I was talking about that yesterday. Then you keep renewing that resistance and bringing it forward. So something that happened, there was just something that happened, you've allowed it to serve as resistance to who you really are and what you really want every day since, or many days since. The point that we're wanting to help you to feel is that you have a mix of vibrations because you have a mix of familiar subjects that you think about. And we're just asking you to pay attention to that mix, because sometimes you want something that your habit of thought doesn't allow. Oh boy, I'd like to have all of the money that I need to travel and have fun, but I have to continue to do what I'm doing in order to bring money in, and money doesn't grow on trees, and there's no inheritance in my future, and so this is probably as good as it's going to be for me, so I'm not going to be able to travel. So you gave birth to it and then you killed it, because your practical mind, as you face reality, as you look at the current situation, you let the current situation dominate your vibration, so you don't let your desires flow and gather the momentum that they would gather if you weren't doing that thing that you do to stop them from gathering momentum. You see what we're getting at? So this conversation, if it really is going to serve you, is about these things. It's about you being the creator of your experience, and you creating through your thought, and you deliberately thinking thoughts that allow you the things that you want, and you deliberately contour your thought in the direction of wanted things, which means you pay attention to your guidance system. And if you find yourself thinking a thought that doesn't feel good, you stop in the middle of that thought and you say, I could find a better feeling thought. We know you've heard this from us before, but today we are certain that as we move forward, you're going to hear it in different ways. Jerry used to tell the story that when he was sitting in front of a fireplace and the log would spit a spark at him and it would land on his beautiful sweater, he would just flick it off immediately. It was as if it had not happened. But if he didn't flick it off, that spark usually had enough fire and momentum in it to burn a hole in his sweater. So that's what we want you to think about relative to the thoughts that you think. If a thought doesn't feel good, and you don't let it go any further just by acknowledging this is an unsatisfying thought, and therefore I'm going to turn my attention from it, that's easy, isn't it? But a thought that you've thought for 20 years, or conversations that you've had for a long time, you can't just flick them away. They don't just go away. They have a life of their own. They have a belief system within you, a belief system that is contrary to your new desires sometimes that you just gave birth to. So as we move forward, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the ways to more easily come into alignment and movement and direction with your own thoughts, because this is such a simple thing to understand. You are creators who are supposed to be happily moving through your life experience. The creative process is supposed to feel fun to you. You focused yourself into this body and into an environment of so much perfect balance and contrast as to give you a constant stream of new ideas about how your life would be better. And each time one of those rockets emanates from you, your inner being shores it up with your inner being's knowledge and attention. And law of attraction focuses too, and all cooperative components are gathered. And the momentum of your desires becomes more and more in this vibrational reality. And while you can't see them because they haven't come, into translation enough that you are translating them with your physical senses. You're not yet translating them with your eyes or your ears or your nose or your fingertips or your tongue. They are not that vivid yet, but they are becoming, and you can translate them with your emotions. You can feel the satisfaction of them. You can feel the enthusiasm of them.